we did work hard. This was Pete's idea initially, and this is what we ended up doing. The bars are actually, out of the nuke, were longer than my hive is wide. But we could do it this way. We ended up hanging the bars, like the top bar here, hang his frames in here like this, and we were able to let them get established, and then we had to do like a shake and cut, and it was not a good day. But all three the two hives we use the nuke on, they have taken to the top bars, and they're more doing the things. My one with the 45 is having a harder time than his that didn't have the nukes, because I think his went in there as a cluster, and they didn't have a plan, where I think Pete's, they were already oriented to the door, had gathered some stuff, and then I twisted them, and they got all cattywampus. Where am I at here? This is just what it looks like. I won't say it anyway. That's actually the follower board there. We tried to make it a little different so you could tell, like in this picture, we have comb on all these, and then these last three here have little bits of comb on there. That's how much room they have to grow. This back in here ends up being dead space to do whatever with. And there is little imperfections that allow them to crawl at the edges of the board at certain parts. So at this point, they can crawl where the corners meet at the bottom into the dead area. So I'll show you what we did with that a little later. This is the back side of the follower board. I ended up putting a ledge on there in case we were going to use like an entrance feeder. I could put a hole in there and let it sit, but it ends up that there's enough dead space in his right now that we can put the feeder in there, and that's where the bees end up getting through. We've also, to make access easier, we've put a half-inch hole right here now that they can get in, and we have a matching cork for wintertime that we'll put in there when they need the area closed off. So I think I said this, they're 36 to 48 inches in the hive body, and the biggest problem is it's a fixed space. When it's full, it's full. My first hive is full, and we've come up with another one of ideas Pete gave us to deal with that, but it is full, it is heavy, and that's the one we ended up cutting the legs off because we were afraid they were going to break under the weight of the honey and everything that's in there. It was really quite a job to get it up off the ground and onto a table. Walls are angled. Mites and other pests have fewer places to hide in this without the frames in there. There's only the places where the wood comes together at the angles, and there's not a lot of room. The bees can get to where the corners come together and all except up by the top bars. And because we remove them when we do our inspection, the hives, beetles don't tend to do their eggs or anything up there. They like to move towards the bottom. We had a couple in the sawdust that have tried to hide there. Since then we've cleaned that up, and we've had a couple that we've seen across the thing. But all in all, the hives that we've been checking, we've had less than a dozen hive beetles in for the season. No dead space. Swarming is an issue with this type of hive too. You got to keep an eye on it, or it's full, and I do have a full hive. This we took out 2 weeks ago, and I can't tell if there's 5 or 6, but that is our third hive that we used to package on. 6 hive beetles for the season. Go ahead. This is what we ended up doing for ours, where they're actively building comb. We've put a beetle blaster, is that right, a beetle blaster trap? It's right out of the magazine. We've ended up since cutting these arms off as they've drawn the comb down to keep it from being incorporated into the actual hive structure. So far so good. All the hive comb material ends up being this color white for honey. The brood comb I got pictures of later, gets a different color, but all of our honeycomb, it has honey in it, is this virgin white. They don't lay any brood in it, and I'll discuss later, when you harvest the honey, it's gone, so it doesn't like they get to reuse it. Go ahead. This is our last honeycomb that they're working on. This stuff they're dehydrating. I kind of thought it's neat because you don't really think about it, but they don't line up the actual holes in the comb. It's crisscrossed like corrugated cardboard for structural strength. And these are really I mean, this is soft wax, but once you get to the harder brood wax, you can, the way you end up inspecting is you got to keep the plane of the comb in line with gravity when you turn it. If you flip it up sideways, the weight of it shears it off. I knew that, and I did that once this year. I felt like, but you can flip it, turn it right upside down and look at it and turn it right back, and the bees don't seem to care, and that's how we end up doing our inspections. I haven't seen any varroa yet. We're still getting good egg production up until last week, and the various stages, and they're really starting to stage the different parts of the hive where they end up having mostly the brood up front and the honey coming back. We're also able to locate the queen in this one and get it marked, which was really huge for us because I thought we'd never find her. Some of the other production points of a top bar, you get less honey. My best estimate is 70 pounds on a good year out of a top bar. That's on a 30-bar top bar, having 10 bars of brood comb, 10 bars of honey for the bees to overwinter, and 10 pounds for you to take at the season. My best guess is 6 to 8 pounds. There's not really a good way to weigh the bars other than to just kind of get a feel. It feels like about 6 or 8 bags of potato chips. The honeycombs are cut away when you harvest. You bring a bucket with you. You shake the bees off, brush the bees off, however you decide to get the bees off. Shake them off, and then you cut right along the top of the top bar and leave just enough wax on there so they know where they left off. Let it fall in the bucket, put your lid on there, and everything goes home with you. You end up going home and doing a crush and strain. The comb that you bring home is clean, clean, clean. It's only been one season, maybe half a season if you get 2 harvests. So there's no residual medications, pesticides, anything left over from the cocoons. The color even stays white. You get a lot of wax though. Every bar about the size of a baseball if you wad it up in your hand.
When you were talking about the hive is full, why couldn't you just take a couple frames out and cut them out and move them straight to the ground?
Because I've never overwintered, and I don't.
Oh, you're talking about going into the winter. Okay.
Yeah, we've never done a winter. We don't know how the bees are going to do. So instead of kind of like handicapping them, I don't know how much they need or how many bees are in there. So we're going to go this year and we'll count how many bars that they take and whatever's left, and we'll have a better indicator for next year. That 10 bars per thing is just a guideline, but the guy who does most of the tutorials is out of Texas, and right now they're dealing with drought and we're drowning and freezing. So it's hard to say what they're going to do. Go ahead. This is my first hive that's not doing as well. This actually got so hot that it fell off the top bar, and just as I said, they don't like to attach it to the ground, they went ahead and did it. They've also been reusing this when they first got started, and what they end up doing when they first start is they put honey in the top, and then they do brood in here, you get your brown stuff, and then as they hatch and they can do more, they'll pull it back and they'll move the honey back to the hive. But I don't know how well you can see, this is all larvae in here. Pretty sizable that they're getting ready to do right there by the honey, and the honey was on there when she laid the egg, so she's tiptoeing around through everything.
The one that's attached, is that the one that fell off?
Go back. Can you go back the other way? This one, it's actually this one right here. This one right here, and what we did, because these are kind of curling around, we cut just a little part of that to move it back onto this top bar hive. And if the wax is soft, you can give it a little push, and but it was too hot, and it ended up falling. So we had to hold off till it cooled off enough that the wax wouldn't melt. So when we're done, go ahead. When we're done, this is what it should look like. A full bar ends up taking the shape of the hive, and this one has still got honey up at top and this brood cell in the middle. This one also was one we took out of peeps. We cut and we clipped, and there's actually hair clips, claw clips embedded in there from when we had them on the top bar with the tie straps. And once they've attached it, we cut them off and we pull it out. Now the trick is can you cut this out, pull it out, and then get it out of there. We said it was one of those things just better off leaving it in there. And there was one in here I think we got out that they're using as a tube between the two pieces of hide. So that's what it looks like when they first started. I think I guessed that
building on the string, or they just started?
this height we didn't end up using strings. We got a little piece of it's like corner trim. Let's actually move some of these around and let everybody